and welcome back to another movie review. All I can say about this film is what a rush. What a rush, what a trip. Absolutely just amazing film, just incredible. Really good fun, really great stuff. Going to be getting into verses today. Hard to believe this film is 22 years old, made back in 2000 and still holds up, still absolutely holds up and just incredible. Absolutely love this movie. Just can't say enough good things about it. The whole film is set in like a forest, known as sort of the Forest of Resurrection, where an escaped convict for this review I will just call the hero, because there's sort of no names as such. Nobody actually gets called by sort of who they are. Even the villain in this film is just called the Man. So I'll be calling the main antagonist, I'll call the Man, and our leads, like our good guy, I'll just call the hero, just to give you an idea of context and how I'm going to be going about this review. So within this film, you get Yakuza like clan battles, you get zombies, there's gunplay, there's martial arts, there's gore, there's comedy, you name it, it is in verses. There is so much going on here, and this is a real blast. This is a real blast from start to finish. Can't say enough good things about it. Directed by Ryûhei Kitamura, or Ryûhei Kitamura. I'm not too sure. Forgive my pronunciation of his name, but Ryûhei Kitamura, I believe, something along them lines. Anyway, you know who I mean. Who just throws everything at you, and the whole film is just a complete assault on the senses. It really is a complete straight at you, unapologetically, straight in your face. Doesn't need to make all that much sense. Just enjoy it, like my previous review of Drive. Just enjoy it, just enjoy the ride, enjoy the thrill, enjoy the action, enjoy the visuals, just enjoy everything this film has to offer. Just fantastic. Done on a very low budget, with the director even borrowing money from friends and family to get the film completed, and he cites films such as Evil Dead and of course Highlander as sort of the main sort of inspirations when making this movie, and you can definitely see that. And I think also as well he cited John Carpenter as a big influence when he went about shooting this movie. The film moves at a lightning speed pace and doesn't slow down at all. I mean, there's a longer cut of this. I'm going to be talking about the 2-hour cut here today, and it just, in that 2 hours, it doesn't stop. It just does not stop. It's, as I say, 2 hours just goes by so quick. It really does fly by. There's also, like I say, an extended cut, which I think goes for about 130 minutes. I think it's about an extra 10 minutes long. Going to be a tricky one to review in terms of who's who. As I say, none of the characters really don't have any names, but I will try my best and we'll try and get through it. So as mentioned, we learn about the Forest of Resurrection, which has sort of special connections with other portals and other dimensions and other places, just that are in it, like in existence. We see this guy in feudal Japan taking down all these zombies with a sword. Then like our main villain, like I say, who we will call the Man. I think that's what he is listed at as in the credits. As you know, he slices this guy like completely in half, and the film is definitely not for the squeamish. It's definitely not for people that are anti-blood and gore. I mean, I absolutely love this stuff, but if you are a bit sort of that's disgusting, or if you're a bit sort of just in your face gore, then this movie will not be for you. Then we cut to these like two escaped convicts, one of them being our hero, in boiler suits, who meet this group of gangsters who get out of a car to sort of this funky drum beat. Again, just little stuff like that just keeps the film cool. It keeps it vibing. It keeps, just keeps the film just flowing along really nicely. Little touches like that. And everybody keeps mentioning that they're told to wait for him. We have no idea who him or is at this point, but that's what they're there. And they've also kidnapped this girl. They had no idea why, but they brought her along as well. And they keep mentioning how much the forest is creeping them out. So our hero doesn't like the fact they've kidnapped this girl. He's not in favour of this. One of the guys, one of the convicts, and he manages to shoot one of the other guys. And it turns into like a Mexican standoff, sort of a Reservoir Dogs type deal, and then the guy that was shot comes back in zombie form, and then he comes back in zombie form. They shoot the hero's sort of buddy who he escaped with. The bad guys shoot him, then he comes back in zombie form as well. It's just a mad off the wall film, it's just done in the best possible way. It's just really, like I say, off the wall, just insane in places. So the hero runs off with the girl. She says she has like a sixth sense, and it sort of goes all first, like Rambo First Blood, with like the thugs chasing them through the forest. Our hero dons like a funky, long, cool sort of leather jacket, long, just to make so he looks the part, looking very much like sort of Dante, from giving that whole Dante vibe of sort of Devil May Cry. If any of you remember that game, or fans of that video game franchise, which I think come out around the same, it might have even come out actually a year later, Devil May Cry. I mean, Devil May Cry I think was 2001, wasn't it, the original on PS2, I think. So it's definitely Dante vibes going on here. With guns, there's swords, So one of the punks sort of finds them. Every time there's sort of an encounter, the hero sort of knocks the girl out, so she's sort of not present during the encounter, and it turns into sort of this fist fight with some great. Really can't underestimate how great some of the choreography here is in this movie. So our gangsters find all these graves from previous bodies they've sort of dumped there, because this is where they've been sort of dumping bodies, and they're like, where have all they gone? There's like these empty graves. Where have all the bodies gone? We've been dumping bodies here for years, and like this is the forest of resurrection. Where have all the bodies disappeared to? And then they're approached by loads of zombies with guns, just like the people that like rival gangsters and things that have buried there. You see these zombies. Zombies is one thing, but when you got zombies with guns, I mean, that's a whole different territory, man. That's a whole different ball game completely. The film is just mad, as I say. It's just absolutely mad, but mad in the best possible way. Mad in the way where this is great filmmaking. This is what filmmaking should be: entertaining, fun, martial arts, gunplay, everything, just great fun. The soundtrack keeps pumping all the way through. That's another thing I love. The soundtrack just keeps going all the way through. We have one of the thugs sort of striking a pose every time he kills one. We have intestines coming out. We have heads being kicked off. Nobody ever sort of most of the time, nobody sort of runs out of ammo, but it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Like I say, when the film is this much fun, it's just so trippy, so awesome. One of the thugs with knives sort of reminds me of sort of the Joker in the way he looks, his hair, his laugh, and his just overall demeanour. He's very much got sort of Joker vibes going on about him. One of the thugs ends up sort of taking the girl and runs off, and the Joker guy shoots one of his team as he sort of he wants to sort of take over the business, and what the boss is doing. He sort of wants to take over and just be in charge of things. And he starts cutting into this guy's shot, starts cutting into his face as well. So it's quite gory, it's quite violent. Then we meet these two cops at this point who you think, who are they? Who are these two? Where have they come from? But of course you think, okay, the two convicts, you don't even see how the convicts escape. They're just escaping, but then genius filmmaking, then it cuts randomly to this car just on the side of the road, and these two getting out. It's like, oh crap, that's the cops they're the people they've escaped from at the start of the movie. Haven't been seen at all till this point, but suddenly cuts to them. The car's flipped on the side of the road, and one of them has his hands missing, and they pull out the biggest freaking gun I've ever seen in probably any movie in my life. It's like ridiculously cartoonish, stupidly big. It just made me laugh. If you watch that scene, if you've seen this movie, just the size of that gun, I burst out laughing. I just couldn't believe the size of this thing. And our hero sort of catches up with the girl, and it turns out they both can't remember sort of who they are, what happened before they entered the forest. So there's definitely stuff happening. Something is definitely going on in this forest. So the man turns up, our villain, and Joker Dude has hired some assassins to sort of do away with him, and he just gets they sort of ambush him, take him on, and the villain, the main dude, he just gets straight back up and starts applauding really sarcastically, and he kills the Joker Dude by impaling him on his fingers. Like I said, some nasty, brutal stuff in this movie. Then he rips out the heart of one of his goons, one of the people, and then sort of blows his head right off, and then he ends up sort of eating his heart, and it's pretty gruesome stuff. But as I say, I love this kind of film. So at one point he also punches through another one's head, and he has sort of the eyeballs hanging up in his hand, sort of hanging off his fingers, and he's trying to get the eyeballs off his fingers. So yeah, there's some gory stuff going on here, some brutal stuff, but it's fun. It's good fun. He makes all these people sort of join him and gives them eternal life. So they sort of become like his mini army. He's sort of recruiting people. He promises them like eternal life, so they sort of join him into sort of like the dark side, as it were. So the girl, our hero, like tells our hero that him and this man, that they are destined to fight. They like it's been foretold, or you're thinking, well, you know, she's like you're meant to fight him. It's what's destined. It's what's meant to happen. He knocks her out again. Then he takes on one of the baddies with pink hair, and we have some amazing choreography here, some great kicks, stuff that even like Ken Lo from the end of Drunken Master 2 would be proud of. Some really great kick choreography going on here. Even real like tongue-in-cheek stuff, like our hero at one point putting on some sunglasses, and you get this really awesome guitar riff. Then he looks at the girl and she sort of shakes her head, and he ends up like, oh, what, you know, no dialogue, but he takes the glasses off, and then you have this sort of guitar riff playing, and it's sort of like a guitar fail. You know, just little things like that, would just like little winks at like subtle things that the audience would say, yeah, it's just meant to be fun, you know. Just makes it it's all just you know, meant to be a good ride. Or like when our hero is fighting one of the baddies and doing all these intricate punches and choreography, and the girl just basically knocks her out with like this log on the back of her neck. It's just expertly directed, just really fantastically directed. So we've learned that the man needs the girl's blood, and has waited like around 500 years for her to reincarnate, and wants to like sort of open the gate to the other side. It's all about him just getting, the idea is he wants to open this portal with her blood to open the dark portal or something. Again, you're never really 100% sure what is going on, but it doesn't really matter. You know, it doesn't really matter. Sort of, it doesn't need to make sense, because this is, like I say, when a film is this entertaining, as all films should be, entertainment. It doesn't matter, you know, when it's done this well, with this so much stylized, like in terms of the gunplay, the comedy, the action, it just works. It just works 100%. He explains to the hero they have fought and met before, so it's sort of got that Highlander. That's where you get the Highlander sort of vibe there, you know, sort of fighting through like over periods of hundreds and hundreds of years. The girl uses her blood to sort of you know, the villain sort of actually, he shoots the hero, and the girl uses her blood to sort of save him. But whilst unconscious, he has like a flashback of what happened before. So they all sort of switch to like traditional feudal Japanese robes and clothes, which mixes it up really nicely. Because I love that bit of the movie. I love that it just changes it up a little bit. It keeps the film going. And it just, like I say, where you cut to what happened before and them all in different clothes, and it's set hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years before or whatever, it for a brief moment there, it just gives the film a bit more context, and it just looks good. I mean, I'd have been happy watching this whole film if it was them sort of in feudal Japan as well. I mean, that would really, it'd have been amazing if we got like a sequel to this where it was sort of the story of what happened before as well. I mean, I think that would be awesome. And I love how dialogue isn't the key here. It's very much a visual film in very much the same way something like Mad Max Fury Road is, where dialogue is not necessarily at the forefront of the movie. It's a prime example where dialogue and conversation isn't necessarily the be-all and end-all of what makes a film. It doesn't need to be about, because you know, like some producers and directors say, oh, script, it's got to be about the script, it's got to be about the script. Not necessarily. It hasn't got to be about it. Sometimes it can be, like I said, very much a visual thing. It can be very much sort of how you shoot a scene, how the film's paced, what is going on, and just what, you know, visually what the audience is seeing. And this film does that, as I say, expertly. So he comes to and he reaches to the sky, and he gets like this sword. This sword just appears, and the man, like I say, the man wants her blood, and she's like, I already used it on the hero, and he's like, well, now he is the key, and he's laughing in her face at this point, and you really want him to get his ass kicked. Like, you really want the man to get his absolute ass kicked. And our hero turns it up, and he's like, don't touch my girl, you arsehole. Just love it. Just absolutely, just so cool the way it's done. And all the goons try to stop him at one point even cutting one of them up into loads of pieces, and I mean tiny little pieces. He just slices one of them up like a full-blown when like henchman just slices him up, so he's just basically just loads of tiny pieces on the forest floor. I love how the fights are all out in the open as well. Like there's no confined like spaces or props or anything like that. You know, it's not like, you know, like a Jackie Chan type thing where it'd be sort of chairs and tables and things like that flipping up. This is very much, there's nothing for them to sort of grab onto. They're just fighting sort of in this forest. It's not nothing in the way of props. It's very much all in the open, and but it doesn't sort of go against the choreography or the fight scenes in any way at all. So we have like our Joker guy uses like some weird form of crab-like martial arts with the gore, the soundtrack, and this combined, it's just what makes the film so entertaining. The comedy keeps coming as well, with one of the two policemen from earlier at one point going to point at something, and the guy looks at him like, what are you pointing at? Because he just suddenly, he forgets that he hasn't got a hand anymore. He totally forgets, he goes to point, it's like it's over there or something, and he just totally forgets that he's actually not pointing at anything because his hand is missing. Even a very blink and you miss it Matrix homage here. Some funky drum beats on the end fight with some great sword play, and I love how during the end fight sequence they end up shooting each other at close range as well, using some great wire work at one point. It's not too heavy on the wire work, but there's a few instances where, you know, they are obviously using wires, but it's worse. But they interplay that with, like I say, gunplay and the sort of grounded choreography, and it just works really well. So it ends with our hero sort of slicing the man's neck and kicking his head right off, and the hero and the girl go to leave the forest, and she says, you may die if you leave, like this might be, you know, you might actually die, this might be the end. And he's like, well, that's fine, I can't stand being in one place anyway. I mean, she's playing it so cool, you know, just the way they sort of go off on the motorbike, and then there's this like post sequence which paves the way for a sequel, you know, just like setting up something. I won't go too into that, but and that's sort of the end of Versus. I mean, you know, I've gone through it quite quickly. I mean, I think I've covered everything I sort of wanted to discuss here, but it's an amazing film. It really is an amazing film, and like I say, to think it's 23 years old now. Doesn't look it in the slightest, and it's you know, it's one of them films that even now I think it's so original, I think it's different, I think it holds up, I think everything about it, as I've mentioned time and time again in this review, the soundtrack, the comedy, the gore, the fight sequences, the pacing, the gunplay, everything, just the sheer originality of it, is just what sets this film apart. You know, it's like I say, it's like if you like your John Woo films, if you like your John Carpenter films, if you like Highlander, if you like martial arts, if you like gunplay, if you like all these kind of things, if you like Evil Dead, if you like whatever, all them things combined, then you will love Versus. You will absolutely love Versus. So please go and check it out if you've never seen this movie, because as I say, you've probably gathered I can't say enough good things about it. It's not to say it's the perfect film, and you know, it's like in my top films ever made, but it's just a real blast. It is a real blast from start to finish, and I highly recommend anybody who's interested in sort of, you know, Japanese cinema, or just, you know, just great action films in general, just go and check it out. Just please go and check out Versus. So thank you very much indeed for watching. I hope you enjoyed the review, and I'll see you again soon.